Jate avajavadata jate Prema bhakti jate avajavadata jate Vede gaya haracharita Vede gaya haracharita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janada Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janada Bandhu Lokanatha Lokarajivana Srila Prabhupada Lokarajivana Aha Prabhu Korodoya Deamore Parachaya Aha Prabhu Korodoya Deamore Parachaya Ebe Jasa Gushu Kripovana Ebe Jasa Gushu Kripovana Aha Prabhu Korodoya Deamore Padachaya Aha Prabhu Korodoya Deamore Padachaya Aha Prabhu Korodoya Deamore Padachaya Jasa Gushu Kripovana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Bola. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo, Hare Krishna. Nitai Goranga, Nitai Goranga, Nitai Goranga. Nitai Goranga, Nitai Goranga. Nitai Goranga Gaurahari. Nitai Goranga Jaya Gaurahari. Nitai Goranga, Nitai Goranga, Nitai Goranga, Nitai Goranga. Nitai Goranga Gaurahari. Gora, Gora, Gora Hare. 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 Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hare. Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hare. Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hare. Radhe, 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 Govinda, Radhe. Radhe, 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 Govinda. Govinda, 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 Radhe. Govinda, 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 Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe, Jai Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Radhe, 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 Govinda, Radhe, Radhe. Hey, Radhe, 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 Govinda. Govinda, 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 Radhe. Govinda, 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 Radhe. Jai Radha, Giriraj, Radha, Giriraj, Radhe. Jai Radha, Giriraj, Radha, Giriraj, Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jai Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Nitai Gora Hariba, 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 Nitai Gora Hariba. Nitai Gora Hariba, 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 Hariba. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad, Mahamsa, Hare Vrajakacharya, Astotadasata, Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanadav and the Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ramsakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Dadharash Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Nuvashan Dham Ki Jai. Srimati Radharani Ki Jai. Parents Day of Srimati Radharani Ki Jai. Sri Radhe Ki Jai. Go Premanande. Oh, glorious dissembled devotees. Oh, glorious dissembled devotees. Oh, glorious dissembled devotees. Oh, glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Oh, glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj and His Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us today on this most auspicious day, the celebration of Srimati Radharani's appearance day. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Nimai Prabhu, are you there? Okay. So you can take over, Maharaj.
All right. Thank you very much. I will begin by singing the Mangalacharana Prayers and giving a short kirtan, and then we will speak about Srimati Radharani. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Savana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Sutta Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radhastami Mahamahotsav Ki Jai. So I shall read one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 2, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, Text 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jivan Chavo Bhagavatang Grirenum Na Jatu Martyo Bilabeta Yastu Sri Vishnu Padya Manujastu Lasya Swasan Chavo Yastu Naveda Gandam Jivan Chavo Bhagavatang Virenu Najatu Martyo Vilabetayastu Sri Vishnu Padya Manujastu Lasya Sasan Chavo Yastu Naveda Gandam. Jivan, while living. Shava, a dead body. Bhagavat Angri Renum, the dust of the feet of a pure devotee. Na, never. Jatu, at any time. Martya, mortal. Abilabeta, particularly received. Ya, a person. Tu, but. Shri, with opulence. Vishnu Padya, of the lotus feet of Vishnu. Manu Ja, a descendant of Manu, a man. Tulasya, leaves of the tulsi tree. Svasan, while breathing. Shava, still a dead body. Ya, who. Tu, but Naveda, never experienced, Gundam, the aroma. Translation: a person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the breathing dead body is a ghost. When a man dies, he is called dead. But when he again appears in a subtle form, not visible to our present vision, and yet acts, such a dead body is called a ghost. Ghosts are always very bad elements, always creating a fearful situation for others. Similarly, the ghost-like non-devotees who have no respects for the pure devotees, nor for the Vishnu deity in the temples, create a fearful situation for the devotees at all times. The Lord never accepts any offerings from such impure ghosts. There is a common saying that one should first love the dog of the beloved before one shows any loving sentiments for the beloved. The stage of pure devotion is attained by sincerely serving a pure devotee of the Lord. The first condition of devotional service to the Lord is therefore to be a servant of a pure devotee. And this condition is fulfilled by the statement, reception of the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, who has also served another pure devotee. That is the way of pure disciplic succession or devotional service. Maharaj Rahugana inquired from the great saint Jud Bharat as to how he had attained such a liberated stage of a Paramahamsa. And in answer, the great saint replied as follows, Srimad Bhagavatam 5:12-12. Rahuganai tat tapasanayati na chejaya nirvapanad grihadva na chandasanaiva jalagni suryair Vina Matpada Rajo Bhishekam. O King Rahugana, the perfectional stage of devotional service, or the Paramahamsa stage of life, cannot be attained unless one is blessed by the dust of the feet of great devotees. It is never attained by tapasya, austerity, the Vedic worshiping process, acceptance of the renounced order of life, the discharge of the duties of the household life, the chanting of the Vedic hymns, or the performance of penances in the hot sun, within cold water, or before the blazing fire. In other words, Lord Sri Krishna is the property of his pure, unconditional devotees. And as such, only the devotees can deliver Krishna to another devotee. Krishna is never obtainable directly. Lord Chaitanya therefore designated himself as Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudasa. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 13, text 80. Or, quote, the most obedient servant of the servants of the Lord who maintains the Gopi damsels at Vrindavan, end quote. A pure devotee, therefore, never approaches the Lord directly, but tries to please the servant of the Lord's servants. And thus the Lord becomes pleased. And only then can the devotee relish the taste of the tulsi leaves stuck to his lotus feet. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is never to be found by becoming a great scholar of the Vedic literatures, but he is very easily approachable through his pure devotees. Yes, Vedeshu Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. In Vrindavan, all the pure devotees pray for the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. Srimati Radharani is the tender-hearted feminine counterpart of the Supreme Whole, resembling the perfectional stage of the worldly feminine nature. Therefore, the mercy of Radharani is available very readily to the sincere devotees. And once she recommends such a devotee to Lord Krishna, the Lord at once accepts the devotee's admittance into his association. The conclusion, therefore, is that one should be more serious about seeking the mercy of the devotee than that of the Lord directly. And by one's doing so, by the goodwill of the devotee, the natural attraction for the service of the Lord will be revived. Right. So this purport, verse and purport, are so deep. Practically the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is contained in this purport. The first point, the most basic point, is that the living entity is not the body. The living entity is the soul within the body. The living entity in the material body has material desires for sense gratification and more subtle material desires that express themselves in mental speculation. After leaving the body, some unfortunate living entities end up as ghosts in subtle, ghostly bodies, but they still have gross desires. How does someone become a ghost? A typical way is that a living entity full of material desires becomes so frustrated and disappointed, which everyone is to some extent, that he commits suicide. The result is that he gets a ghost body, a subtle body without a gross body. Krishna, the super soul, fulfills all desires. The person who commits suicide wants to be free from his gross body. So Krishna fulfills his desire and gives him a ghost body, a subtle body. But the frustration and disappointment that gave rise to the impulse to commit suicide came from strong material desires. And he still has the material desires, but not a gross body through which to fulfill them. So he is even more frustrated. And so the ghost will try to inhabit or possess someone else's gross body in order to fulfill its desires through that person's senses. Thus, ghosts are disturbing elements. They create fearful situations. Another way a person can get the body of a ghost is if he is very attached to a thing or place, to his house, for example, and at the time of death thinks of that object of attachment. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajante kalevaram tam tam mevaiti kaunteyat sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. That's Bhagavad Gita 8:6. Whatever you think of at the time of death will determine your next body. Now, if you think of your house at the time of death, you cannot get the body of a house because that is not one of the species of life. But you can take birth as a ghost in that house. Therefore, many houses, especially big opulent ones, mansions and castles, are reputed to be haunted by ghosts. How can one be freed from ghosts? The chanting of the holy name is the best remedy for practically any ill in the world, and it is the remedy for being troubled by ghosts. Sometimes devotees take advantage of this fact. A large estate will be haunted, and so people won't want to buy it. But the devotees will see, oh, here is a good opportunity. We can get a major property to use in Krishna's service for a small sum of money. And as for the ghosts, we'll just do Harinam Sankirtan, and the ghosts will go away. And we will have a nice place for Krishna. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami composed a beautiful verse in which he says that one who is haunted by material desires can never experience the sweet taste of devotional service. Mukti mukti spriha yavat pisachi hridi vartate tavat bhakti sukhasyatra katam abhyudayo bhavet. Quote, the material desire to enjoy the material world and the desire to become liberated from material bondage are considered to be two witches, and they haunt one like ghosts. As long as these witches remain within the heart, how can one feel transcendental bliss? As long as these two witches remain in the heart, there is no possibility of enjoying the transcendental bliss of devotional service. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-22. Pisachi means ghost or witch. Material desires are like ghosts that fill our minds with ideas foreign to us. In our normal consciousness, we think in a certain way. But when a ghost possesses our mind, we think in a completely different way. As spirit souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious. By constitution, eternal servants of Krishna. Jiver Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. So to desire anything other than to be a servant of Krishna or a servant of Krishna is like being haunted by a ghost. We get desires, ideas for sense gratification. And instead of accepting Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, which is his constitutional position, we want to take his place and enjoy independent of him. Such desires, such ideas are foreign to our true nature. So being possessed by these desires is like being haunted by a ghost. We need shelter, and we can get the shelter we need only from Krishna. But we cannot get Krishna's shelter directly. We have no means to approach him directly. Therefore, all scriptures and bona fide acharyas recommend that to achieve the shelter of Krishna, we should seek the shelter of a pure devotee who himself has achieved the shelter of another pure devotee, who has achieved the shelter of another pure devotee, all the way back to Krishna. This is devotional parampara. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhuta dimavyayam. Those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Gita 9:13. The great souls are not under the material energy. They are under the divine energy, the spiritual energy, ultimately Srimati Radharani. And they achieve shelter of the spiritual energy by taking shelter of a pure devotee who is under the spiritual energy, who has in turn taken shelter of a pure devotee under the spiritual energy, and so on back to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was once invited to speak at the home of the wealthiest family in India then, the Birlas. I presented Mrs. Birla a list of topics on which Prabhupada could speak. I knew he could speak on any topic. And she chose how to be successful. The invitees would be people we imagined were very successful. But her choice suggested that they wanted to become more successful, that they were not satisfied as they were. Thus, they would want to learn the secret of how to become more successful. At the program, Srila Prabhupada gave an interesting definition of success, one that we had not anticipated. He explained that everyone in the material world is under the control of the material energy, personified as Durga, who rides on her lion carrier and exhibits many arms with many weapons. He said that Durga holds a trident, Trishul, which represents the threefold miseries of material existence, and that she pierces the conditioned souls with these miseries. And opposed to the material energy is the spiritual energy, personified as Srimati Radharani. Srila Prabhupada said that success in life means to transfer oneself from the control of Durga Devi, the material energy, to the shelter of Radharani, the spiritual energy. Srila Prabhupada's definition was so intelligent and subtle. He was saying that success doesn't mean to move to a better grade of prison, a better house, a better office, a better car, a better material position. Success means to get out of prison, And that is achieved by surrendering to Krishna, as stated by him in the Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Devi hiesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mame vaye prapadyante mayame tam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. We must take shelter of Krishna and move from the control of the material energy to the protection of the spiritual energy, Srimati Radharani. But we cannot do that directly. We do it by taking shelter of someone who has taken shelter of someone who has taken shelter of someone who has taken shelter of Srimati Radharani. That is parampara. We take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and of those working under his direction, just as he took shelter of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and served him. And as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took shelter of his spiritual master, Srila Gaurkishordas Babaji Maharaj, and served him, like that, all the way back to Krishna. But that requires humility. Once a disciple asked Srila Prabhupada that the Shikshastika contains all the essential truths of Krishna consciousness, but there's no mention of spiritual master, and spiritual master is so important in Bhakti Yoga. And Srila Prabhupada replied that it is there implicitly in the verse, Trinadapi sunichena, tararapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. If you're actually humble, as that verse says, more humble than a blade of grass, if you are actually humble, you will realize that you need a guru to guide you and elevate you beyond this world of birth and death. Now, given that we have so many doubts and reservations and rebellious tendencies in Kali Yuga, what hope do we have? The good news is that in this age of Kali, Sri Krishna came in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And as we read in the purport, Srimati Radharani is the tender-hearted feminine counterpart of Krishna. In the Nectar of Devotion also, Srila Prabhupada says that Srimati Radharani represents the compassionate nature of Krishna. Because Krishna is the father, he might be a little strict, which is sometimes necessary and beneficial. But the mother may be more compassionate, more understanding, more encouraging. Therefore, devotees approach Krishna through Srimati Radharani. Srila Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22, quote, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. End quote. Srimati Radharani, in addition to having other qualifications, is a Mahabhagavata. She sees that everyone is a better servant of Krishna than she. So if someone approaches her with a desire to serve Krishna, she'll very easily recommend the person to Krishna. And when Radharani recommends someone, Krishna is bound to accept, because ultimately Krishna wants to please Radharani. Transcendentally, Krishna comes under the control of Radharani. Thus, in Radharani's hometown of Varshana, the devotees have a saying: whatever Radha does, Krishna likes, and whatever Radha likes, Krishna does. So if Radharani wants Krishna to accept us, he will accept us. Because today is a special day, Sri Radhastami, we can approach Radharani directly. But even today, it is through her servants. Even when we are in the spiritual world, whenever that fortunate occasion arises, we will serve Radha and Krishna not directly, but under the guidance of their servants. That is an eternal principle. There are different rasas or relationships that we can have with Krishna. But in whatever relationship we have, we will always be under the eternal guidance of some eternal associates of Krishna. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Naham vipro na cha narapatir na pi vaishyo na sudro, Naham varni na cha griha patir na va na sto yatir va. Kintu pradodyan nikila paramananda purnam ritabder, Gopi Bhartu Padakamalai or Dasada Sanudasa. I am not a Brahmin, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Sudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. Identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. That's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 13, text 80. Srila Prabhupada paraphrased Srila Rupa Goswami's verse about being haunted by ghosts in the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 3, quote, anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses by becoming more and more important, either in the material sense or in the spiritual sense, cannot actually relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. And in a class in Detroit, Srila Prabhupada stated the same thing in a positive way. And he moved his hand like this. The more you become the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter devotional service becomes. It is glorious to be the servant of the servant. Srila Prabhupada has given us this life. He has given us this opportunity. Sri Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna, but in the mood of Radharani. And in her kind-hearted, tender-hearted, merciful, compassionate mood of love and care, he has given us the easiest and most practical process for success in the present age, the chanting of the holy names. Harinama, Harinama, Harinami Kevalam, Kalonasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Gatiranita. In this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, the holy name, the holy name of Lord Hari Krishna. By chanting the holy names without offense, all the dirty things in the heart become cleansed. Cheto Darpano Marjanam. Even if we have that little rebellious spirit, why should I surrender? By chanting, which is both easy and enjoyable, all these dirty things, these misconceptions and false identifications are cleansed. And naturally, we come to our real position as eternal servants of the servants of Krishna. So it is very easy. We just have to do it. This is ultimately Srimati Radharani's mercy. It is her mercy that Srila Prabhupada came to America and gave us Krishna consciousness. In a poem he wrote on board the cargo ship he took to America, Srila Prabhupada wrote, Krishna taba punya habe bai, e punya kori be jabe, Radharani kusi habe, druvi ati boli tomatai. O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. First, we must please Radharani. And how? By following the orders of the spiritual master, serving the mission of the spiritual master. We have everything, every opportunity. We have beautiful deities. We have Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. We have his instructions, his books, his translations of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have the holy name. We have the association of devotees. We have everything. We just have to take advantage. And to conclude, I will quote Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who says that one who is a worshiper of Vishnu is a Vaishnavite. One who is a worshiper of Krishna is a Krishnite. And one who is a worshiper of Radharani is a Gaudiya. In other words, we Gaudiyas are worshipers of Srimati Radharani, first and foremost. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you on this auspicious occasion of Shri Radhastami and to speak a little bit about her glories and her mercy. And now, I believe we do have a little time. So if any of you would like to ask any questions or share any reflections, please raise your hand, your physical hand or your virtual hand, and we will discuss further. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
While we are waiting, I'd like to thank His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj for the wonderful presentation on Sri Radhastami. This is his lowly servant, Devamrita Swami.
Maharaj, you're my exalted godbrother. Why don't you say a few words to further enlighten and enliven us, if you please?
Just a few words. I'm meditating deeply on your focus about servant of the servant of the servant, and Srila Prabhupada speaking in Detroit about how the more you become servant of the servant of the servant, the sweeter devotional service becomes. So I'm just thinking about that, and I thank you for presenting that theme throughout your talk, which went everywhere from ghosts to the topmost portion of the spiritual world. Thank you for blessing the devotees way down under, last stop before Antarctica. Thank you for blessing them with such katha on this most auspicious day.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. And on that theme of being the servant of the servant, just after Srila Prabhupada left, I asked his Sanskrit scholar, Pradumya Das, that that the material world is an inverted reflection of the spiritual world. So everything that exists in the spiritual world, everything that exists in the material world exists in the spiritual world, but in its original pure condition. So I asked Pradumya Prabhu, what is pride in the spiritual world? And Pradumya Prabhu replied that pride in the spiritual world is being the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, the last one in the line. That is the devotee's pride. He has the most masters because he is the last in the line of the servants of the servants of the servants. That is his pride. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Once again, thank you so much for taking your time out and being with us, blessing us on this most auspicious event. Thank you to His Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj, to thanking Maharaj on behalf of ISKCON Auckland. So thank you to all devotees. If there's any question, you're most welcome to ask.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to know, what was the significance of Radha Rani's marriage to Abhimanyu?
Yes. In Vrindavan, well, first, just a little philosophical background, not for you, but for others who may need it more. But there are 5 basic relationships or rasas that one can have with Krishna. There's Shanta Ras, Dasya Ras, Sakya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, and Madhurya Ras. And the highest is Madhurya Ras, which is the conjugal relationship. And within the conjugal relationship, there are 2 divisions. Svakya, which means married, such as the queens in Dwarka, that they're married to Krishna, that is Svakya Ras. And then there's unmarried, which is Partakya Ras. And so in Vrindavan, the Partakya Ras prevails. And that makes the loving affairs more relishable. You know, they're more challenging and ultimately more relishable. So Srimati Radharani is the most chaste woman in existence, but to further that Parakya ras, she was married to Abhimanyu, but she had no real conjugal relationship with Abhimanyu. But her marriage to Abhimanyu gave rise to many wonderful pastimes, and I could I could discuss them, but it wouldn't be quite fitting just now. But yeah, that was part of the divine arrangement of Yoga Maya to facilitate Radha and Krishna's pastimes in Parakya ras.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Kishori Radha has her hand raised.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to your divine grace. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today has been a bit of a double celebration for us because it's your solar birthday and also Radhastami. So thank you for this class. Guru Maharaj, I read in Srimati Radharani's qualities that she accepts all kinds of devotees. And I was wondering, does that refer to the different levels of advancement of devotees, or does that refer to different moods in service?
Yeah, she accepts everyone. As I mentioned, she's a Mahabhagavata, I mean, to the highest degree. And Mahabhagavatas by nature see that everyone is serving Krishna except themselves, or everyone is serving Krishna better than themselves. And therefore, Radharani recommends everyone, anyone and everyone to Krishna. That, oh, this devotee is better than me, you should accept this devotee. And again, whenever Radharani recommends someone to Krishna, Krishna accepts that devotee. So I would say that it applies to, all different levels of advancement. Yeah. And moods also. Yeah, because bhakti is actually composed of two elements. And one of the elements is Ladini Shakti, which is Srimati Radharani. So wherever there is bhakti of any type, in any mood, Srimati Radharani is there as Ladini Shakti. And as Ladini Shakti, the pleasure-giving potency, it is the Ladini Shakti in the devotee's service that gives pleasure to Krishna. And it's also the Ladini Shakti that gives pleasure to the devotee who is rendering the service. So, yeah, wherever there's devotional service, there's Ladini Shakti, and that means there's Radharani, giving pleasure to Krishna and to the devotees who are serving Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question? If not, then can I request Govinda Kinger Prabhu to please take a close darshan of Shri Shri Radha Girdhari, so that Maharaj can also have darshan of Shri Shri Radha Girdhari.
That sounds nice. Oh, nice. Beautiful temple, beautiful altar.
Thank you, Maharaj.
More blessings of Srila Prabhupada, Srimati Radharani through Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. Radharani ki jai. Whoa, a nice temple room. It's very spacious. Reminds me a bit of Durban. Well, since we have a few minutes,